Today's webinar will be an interactive one where Stacy and I will be asking you to stop and reflect or write about the information we will cover and how that relates to you in your current job search. For the most part, we will be muting the microphones. We will, however, be pausing throughout today's presentation to ask for comments or questions, and we'll unmute the microphones at that time. If you have a question or want to mention something at any time, please feel free to type your questions in the chat box and we will unmute your microphone. As Janet had mentioned, she has been kind enough to monitor this chat for us. So taking a look at today's objectives, what we plan to do in today's webinar is define the labor market and describe the factors that influence it, gain a basic overview of the current Canadian and Ontario markets, find ways to connect and find ways to stay connected and up to date with changing trends, as well as begin connecting personal wants and needs with the labor market. In order for us to understand how labor market information can be a useful tool in our job search and career planning, we need to first define the term labor market model. The labor market model is made up of three components: supply and demand that makes the goods, products, and services. Supply refers to the workers and job seekers, while demand refers to the employers and the jobs available. Together, the supply and demand help to produce the goods, products, and services that are available.
Hi, as Valerie mentioned, my name is Stacy McNeil. I'm going to be talking to you on the next few slides. So we're now going to talk about the different sectors. The labor market is divided into different sectors. So for here in Canada, it's divided mainly into two different sections. The first one is the service producing sector, which is a majority of the labor market in Canada. As you can see on the slide, it represents about 80% of the labor market here in Canada. The service producing sector revolves around the wholesale and retail trades, healthcare and social services, professional and technical services, as well as education employment. So that really makes up a good chunk of what Canada's labor market is. The other section, which is just a little under the little over the 20%, that is the goods producing. So that represents about 20% of Canada's market. So for goods producing, that would be agriculture and farming, manufacturing, construction, and as well as utilities falls under that one as well. So this is kind of an overall snapshot of what the employment by industry sector looks like for Canada. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the factors that influence the labor market. There's quite a few factors that influence the labor market. The labor market is always constantly changing and moving due to the different influences that affect it. We'll first talk about local economy. So there's lots of different factors with the local economy that can affect the labor market. Businesses opening and closing, new development, whether it be residential or commercial, road construction, and weather. Weather can have a huge impact on the local economy. Is it a strong winter where the seasonal jobs, if it's lasting long, then jobs that require construction or outdoors may be limited, or a shorter in duration for that season, which can have an impact on the local economy. As well as the global economy, there's different influences, imports, exports. So you think of the cost of oil and how much that affects global economy. You know, with the raising cost of oil, prices dropping, it affects very many different aspects. Weather, natural disasters, that also has a huge impact on the labor market and the global economy. Demographics also play a major factor as well. What are the demographics? Right now we're seeing baby boomers and an aging population, which is also increasing healthcare needs. So the labor market around that is increasing where there's more demands in healthcare positions because of that. Also government, so policies, government policies that they run out, trade agreements, these are all factors as well. If you look at the recent, in the last few years, Ontario rolled out the all-day kindergarten in the public schools. That has had a major impact on the demand for early childhood education positions that have become available to fill those spots for the all-day kindergarten programs. So once again, government policies and that can really affect the labor market as well. Technologies, computerized systems, automated systems really have an impact, changing the types of jobs that are available based on the technology that, that is growing. And trends. Right now we're seeing a green environmental solar influences trends. That has a big impact with solar farms and wind farms being produced, so lots of jobs being created that way. So they're expanding and the labor market's changing to fill those needs as well. So now we will take a little break just to, you know, step back and reflect on, you know, what about your local labor market. So in your area, you know, think about questions to ask yourself. How could local labor market factors affect my career and job search? So how is that going to affect you? Thinking about all the different factors that I just talked about, how would that affect your job search? Will these factors create more or less jobs in my sector or in my community? And as well, do I need to look at other sectors or other locations for work? Maybe the jobs that you're looking for just don't exist in your community, so maybe that's something where you would have to go out of your community to access or look for. And if anybody has any questions now, we could answer them.
None coming in yet, but I'll keep checking. No, no questions.
Okay. So before we can take a look at the current Canadian and Ontario labor markets, let's review a few terms that can be frequently mentioned when we discuss labor market information, also known as LMI. So the first term we will look at is the National Occupation Classification System, also known as NOC. This is a classification system that is used to categorize jobs in Canada. It is used by thousands of individuals every day to better understand the jobs throughout Canada's labor market. This system is continually updated to reflect occupational changes within Canada. The National Occupation Classification System, or NOC, contains over 40,000 job titles within 500 group descriptions. NOC information can help to provide job tasks and descriptions, information on the average wages, and statistics to help understand labor market outcomes for many occupations found across Canada. The next term that we will examine in more detail is the unemployment rate. This refers to the percentage of individuals who are out of work. The unemployment rate is determined by calculating the number of unemployed people divided by the total labor force. This number is then multiplied by 100 to determine the percentage of unemployment within a specific area. And again, this is a percentage that will vary across province, as it will be very specific and reflect that particular area. And finally, you may have heard the term job vacancy rate. This refers to the unmet labor market demands. These unmet demands refer to the number of jobs that are available within a specific area. Now that we have an understanding of the terms used to describe the labor market information, let's take a look at the current labor market in Canada. This information is from regular reports provided through Statistics Canada, as well as the website Working in Canada, and is reflective of August 2016. So in August, Canada's unemployment rate was sitting at 7%. The job vacancy rate, so the jobs available, was at 2.1%. Of that 2.1% of available jobs, 67.8 were full-time opportunities, and 32.2% of those opportunities were part-time. Some of the occupations with the highest vacancies include retail salesperson, food counter, kitchen helper, and related occupations, as well as chefs and cooks. These three occupational groups are within the sales and service occupations, which made up 34.9% of all job vacancies in Canada for August 2016. Other occupations that are in demand include motor and vehicle transit drivers, trades helpers and laborers, longshore workers and material handlers. These three groups had the largest amount of job vacancies within the occupation category of trades, transport and equipment operators, and related occupations. This category had the second highest number of vacancies, coming in at 12.8% of all available opportunities within Canada. And again, that's for August 2016. Let's now take a look at the current labor market within Ontario. Again, as of August 2016, the unemployment rate in Ontario was sitting at 6.7%, with the average weekly earning of an Ontario resident being at $980.68. Some areas of growth within the province was the goods producing sector, as well as the service providing sector. The goods producing sector saw a gain that was primarily driven by the rise in the construction industry. Province-wide within August, we saw many new announcements for funding for infrastructure, which helps to create more opportunities and employment growth in that area. Gains within the service producing sector included educational services, healthcare and social assistance, finance, real estate, and public administration. Toronto, Kingston, Pembroke, Windsor, Sarnia, Northeast and Northwest regions saw labor market gains. An example of this growth would be in Windsor, where a redevelopment project for the Devonshire Mall has been planned until 2018. Therefore, this has added many new employment opportunities to the Windsor area. Areas of decline for the month of August include manufacturing and wholesale trade. In manufacturing, we have seen many large gains in the previous months throughout the province. As an example, in July, Ontario added 13,000 new jobs to this sector. However, in August 2016, due to layoffs, such as the one in Hamilton at National Steel Car Limited, we have seen a province-wide decline of about 5,000 opportunities in that industry. Wholesale trade is another area that declined by 4,200 jobs, partly due to retail closures. So one that comes to mind would be the Canadian retailer, Ben Moss Jewelers. And again, this decline would have, the closure of these retailers would have resulted in a loss of jobs. However, this decline is likely to soon be offset by retail expansion, such as in Guelph, they're looking to have a second Walmart open, as well as K-Mobile is looking to expand across the GTA with 250 new stores. So we might find that as labor market information continues to change, that this could become soon an area of increase rather than decline. Kitchener, Waterloo, Barrie, Niagara Peninsula, and London all saw declines. While areas such as Kitchener, Waterloo, and Barrie saw a decline primarily in full-time employment, the labor market is expected to improve in the coming months. This improvement includes job creation, such as in Aurelia, where a new Costco has opened, creating over 200 new jobs in the area. And Index Exchange is moving into a larger office in Kitchener, which is expected to create 40 new positions to support their advertising technology operations. And as you'll see, employment growth was flat in Muskoka, Kawarthas, and Stratford, Bruce Peninsula. So again, we just want to take a moment for you to reflect on some of the information that we've covered and ask yourself, does this information reflect what you are seeing inside your community? What does this mean for you in your job search? And how does this information match your career expectations? And also at this time, if anyone had any questions, please feel free to type them into the chat box.
So while we're waiting on questions, at the end of the presentation, do you say where you get this data from?
Yeah, so the information was from Stats Canada,
Okay.
The Labour Market for Ontario 2016,
Okay.
and then some information was found on labour market trends within the Working in Canada Job Bank website, which we'll talk a little bit more about further into the presentation.
Okay. Yeah. So no questions yet.
So this is Stacey McNeil again. So I'll talk a little bit about staying up to date. So as Valerie mentioned, the labor market is constantly changing. The information, there's increases, there's declines, really with all the different factors, it's always constantly changing. So how do you stay up to date with that and keep up with all of the changes? We'll talk a bit about locally how you can stay up to date and keep up with following the labor market information and what is going on in your community. One of the ways is definitely through the newspapers. You know, reading the newspapers, local stories, local businesses opening, expanding, closing, changing their businesses, adding new business, all of those things you will find in your local newspaper, which does, you know, these stories do affect your labor market locally, whether it be creating jobs, jobs in decline. So newspapers are a great way to stay on top of that. Another great way is through social media and social network sites, Facebook being one. You can follow companies you're interested in. So if you are job searching and there's a few companies in your area that you're really interested in, see if they have a social media, Facebook or a Twitter site that you can follow. A lot of companies will update information, new things, new projects they might be doing. If they are looking for employees, sometimes they will post on their social media. They'll update any new projects or anything going on. So social media is a really great way, as well as your local employment sites in your area. A lot of them will have Facebook sites as well, which you can then follow. They will update with any job postings or any job fairs that might be going on in your area. So that could be also another way. And community groups. A lot of community groups in different communities will have social networking sites that will update you on information, let you know about the local information of what's going on in your community. And of course, word of mouth. So talking to people. You know, people can share different things that they've heard in the community, if new businesses opening up, any upcoming job fairs, any businesses they know that are now hiring. So these are all great ways to kind of stay up to date and get an ear to the ground of what's going on with the labor market in your local area. So we'll talk a little bit about a bigger picture, not just your local area, but provincially and across Canada. You can also stay up to date of what's going on with the labor market. And one of the ways you can do that is through the Job Bank. It is a website that is run through Service Canada, so it's run through the Government of Canada. It is a very good resource as far as job searching, so you can search for jobs on there through the Job Bank, and you can search for your area, your town, your region, or your province, depending on how wide your job search is. You can also find You can explore careers. So there's career assessments that you can do on this website to maybe help you figure out career directions to go into. It can also give you information on different careers. So it can give you average wages, what the outlook is for that position. So is it on an incline? Is it on a decline? Are there a lot of job vacancies in that area? And what are the skills and knowledge and education that might be needed for that type of work? As well as it can give you labor market news. So you can explore different job trends, different jobs that may be opening up, or different resources that might be in your center, in your local area. So you can, the job bank has a lot of resources, not just a job bank where you can find job postings. So it can be a really good resource for finding labor market information as well as for applying for different positions. Another good resource for staying up to date and finding some labor market information is the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development website, as seen here on the slide. This also can provide some labor market information provincially of what's going on in Ontario. It can also help link you to local economic development sites. Those local economic development sites can give you more local labor market information as far as how many companies have closed, how many have opened in your community, as well as how many jobs are on the incline, decline based on that. And they will give you some more data locally for what's going on in your area, as well as in the province as well.
And finally, we asked to take a few moments to stop and think again about next steps. Make a to-do list and put reminders in your calendar to stay on track with your job searching goals. Read the paper. What does your local labor market look like? Are there any new industries coming to town? Could a local business be looking to expand? Sign up for email lists. As an example, Stacey talked a little bit about Job Bank. And they actually have a service where you can sign up for daily emails to receive up-to-date information. Complete a career assessment. Here at the Georgian Career and Employment Community Services, we offer an aptitude test called Career Cruising. This test matches your interest with careers that are with different career options. And if you get in touch with your local Employment Ontario site, they will have a similar option or version of a career exploration service. And finally, use labor market information to check the outlooks before continuing your job search. What does the outlook look like in your area? If you were to relocate to somewhere else in Ontario, are there more job opportunities there for you to be more successful? Taking a look at the labor market information that's out there can really help you make decisions throughout your job search. And at this time, we would like to unmute microphones or open up the chat box if anyone did have any questions.
Okay, I'm going to unmute everybody and then see if we've got any questions. Okay, kind of loud. Again, I think maybe the suggestion would be to try the question panel, unless anybody has any questions. No? Well, that was some great information. Particularly, you know, a lot of people when they're navigating the labor market, you know, are doing it after, you know, maybe for their first time, or it could be their second time if they've been employed for a long time and now they're back out and looking for work. So I'm sure there's a lot of information that's out there that, you know, many people just don't even know how to search it. Okay, I'm going to
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to mute everybody and then we can wait for questions. Only because it's quite loud.
Yes.
Yeah. So, do you have any links that you could share with the group as far as where they could research? I know the Service Canada website is probably one of the main ones.
Yeah, that would be probably where I would tell somebody just to start anyway.
Yeah.
The other one would be local workforce planning boards would be another resource to use. So I know here in Dufferin County we have the Wellington Dufferin County Workforce Labor Board. So that would be our resource that can give you more local labor market information. And there are similar workforce planning boards all across Ontario. So that could be also a really good resource for people who are trying to do some labor market research or trying to find some labor market information in their areas.
Definitely your local workforce planning boards can be very resourceful. As you'll notice throughout the presentation, when we talk about labor market information, it's continually changing month to month. And labor market information also looks different depending on the area that you are in. So definitely connecting with those local resources can really help to give you an idea of the bigger picture of what's happening in your area. What are those areas of growth? What are the areas of decline?
Yeah, very good. Very informative. Yeah, thank you both very much. I think there's a lot of good information for people to take away. As I had mentioned, we will be recording this. It will be found on our website. Plus, if you would like copies of the slides, I'm sure they would be readily available also.